what's up?
How are you? How's it going, Steven?
It's going as much as it could possibly go in a lockdown pandemic.
You're doing great. We're all doing great. Yay!
Well, good to see you virtually.
It's very wonderful to see you virtually. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jess Miller. I am a comedian from Massachusetts. And this is my friend right here. I'm getting used to pointing over here, doing it backwards.
The weather lady.
This is my friend. He's an internationally touring comedian, Steven Scott.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
So excited that you came in and joined me.
Oh, me too. Good to be here.
And a little fun fact about Steven is that he grew up with my my wife.
Yes.
In the same apartment complex.
And her mom, your late mother-in-law, was my school teacher when I was a kid growing up.
How crazy is that? It's a small world.
Yeah, a little trivia, a little geography there, as I like to say.
So how are you? How are things going?
Things are going. You know, it's obviously a weird time. The career has come to a screeching halt, which is a little unusual.
Yeah, you were doing really good too, right?
It was going great. I mean, I was on my way to India, literally getting the airport on a plane to India, and they just went, "Oh yeah, no, they were shutting down the ports. You can't go." I was joining a cruise there for a show, and then going to Dubai, and and that got canceled. And then I haven't done a live show since I think March 1st.
Wow,
I did
harder than me.
Yeah, I did a corporate video on the 5th, but live show was on the 1st. So it's 2.5 months, 6 weeks.
Holy cow, that's a long time.
It is. I hope I can remember how to do my act.
You're gonna remember how to do your act. How long have you been a comic for?
So literally, as of last week, I just celebrated my silver anniversary, 25 years as a stand-up comedian.
25 years.
And, thank you. And now I'm right before I started with no idea what's happening in the future.
That's amazing. 25. I can't even imagine 25 years. That's amazing.
It's amazing. Where did it's like that? It's crazy.
Yeah. What were your hardest years?
My hardest years in comedy. Oh boy. Yeah. Here's what's interesting about it. And I remember when I did America's Got Talent, they asked me this question as well, Simon and everybody. This business is like a roller coaster. It's 1 minute you're up, and then all of a sudden you're hurtling
completely down,
and then you're twisting all around, and then you're upside down, and then you're right side up. It's not like, oh, here it's hard, here it's easy. No, any minute something can change on a dime. And I've had it happen multiple times. 1 minute you got a holding deal with a major studio. You're doing a TV show with 2 major A-list celebrities, ordered for 10 episodes. Your future is set. And then they go, yeah, we're not going to use that. Okay. They go $3 million. What the hell? And you're like, oh, okay.
But you do a lot of stuff, right? Like you're not just a comic. You do a lot of stuff.
Well, I'm a comedian, but I do acting and writing and hosting, a whole bunch of other things that are related, but certainly in other parts of the business, sure. And voiceover work. I do a lot of voiceover work too. Yeah,
because you do a lot of voices. So I figured what I would do just to get us started and to give people an idea of who you are, what kind of comic you are, is I'd play your sizzle reel, which
okay, my goodness.
I love your sizzle reel because it's definitely shows every part of you.
Oh, thank you.
And it's fun to watch. So I'm gonna add this to the screen here.
Oh, look at it. So
I know. It's very groovy, right?
That is impressive.
And what'll happen is it'll start playing and then we'll fade out over to the side. Everybody can watch it and then we'll come right back in.
Awesome. Cool.
Sound good?
I like it.
Okie dokie. Here we go.
Our next comedian is quite a character. In fact, he's known as quite a few characters.
Please give a warm welcome to the hysterical
Steven Scott.
Steven Scott, you are amazing.
Professor Steven Scott. Uh-oh. Congratulations. You're going to semis.
Get ready to laugh with Steven Scott.
I'm glad you have energy. I need it this week so bad because I'm exhausted. I haven't been sleeping this week because they just started renovating my apartment building. So all week, I haven't needed an alarm clock, a wake-up call every day, like it or not. I've been waking up to this.
Pero para la ratio, Torre Viejo.
My mom's adorable. She still hasn't figured out how voicemail works yet. Every message of hers starts out like this. Hi, sweetie, it's Mom. Pick up the phone.
Are you there? I have a story for you.
And unlike most people who have you call them back and then tell you the story, she leaves the entire story right on the voicemail. It makes me miss the good old days when we used to have answering machines and I could listen to her messages like this.
Hi, sweetie, it's your mother. Remember me? I have a story for you, and 30% off. I couldn't believe it. And the woman was because Aunt Sylvia's stool sample came back from the lab. I don't know, the doc.
That's why we got to bring back the answer machine.
Stars is all about choices. Hundreds of movies, multiple channels, even HD. Something for everyone. Oh, think that's for you. Hope they're not on a cell phone. Nothing worse than trying to sell when all they can hear is, "Hey, this is Dave calling from Stars. It's annals and $99 a month."
No, the reason my dad talks about it, my dad's a newscaster, so he's got that really deep, loud, authoritative broadcaster voice. So whenever I'd get yelled at, I always felt like I was a breaking story. Oh yeah, he'd pick up the phone in that newscaster cadence he didn't play. Like, how's your father? Yeah, your mother just told me what you did. Well, I'll tell you something, mister, you're in a lot of trouble. And you're going to get it when I get home. Tonight at 11.
That's me, Steven Scott. I'm a stand-up comedian. And I get sent all around the globe to tell jokes to the folks.
It's not every day you get to watch a 747 practically land on your head. Except here in St. Martin.
New York City people have a very high noise tolerance. My buddy lives on the second floor of one of those buildings like we have in the city where it's right in front of where they got the elevated subway tracks going by. I'm like, how do people live there? A train barrel in front of you. You can't even have a conversation. It's like, hey, dude, what's up? Not much, man. It's funny, though. I just got back from the... I'm like, dude. I'm like, how do you... Seriously? Can you fix that?
WKZY radio. We got a 14-car backup right now on the 101 heading westbound. We also got traffic.
How does that work? I mean, just you do all these sounds with your mouth.
I was a weird kid. All right, try this. Here we go.
This is great. We're roasting Gary Busey.
Yeah, baby. I behave.
No. Don't do that. Yeah, you're doing it wrong.
You have to get stars. They have all the great movies they've done, like The Terminator and The True Lies and all of these things.
And I want you to know something, Gary. I've been roasted by the Friars Club. It wasn't like this. We had actually had a big roast. It was the biggest roast in Friars Club history. We had 7 million people, right? It's 7 million people. Hey, how are you? Oh, breaking down.
We need to get our technological priorities together in our country. How is it possible? Years ago, we had the technology. Back then, we were putting dudes up on the moon. Now think about this for a moment. The moon is 250,000 miles away and in the middle of outer space. Yet somehow everyone on Earth had no problem hearing this man say, "That's one small step for man." But somehow to this day on planet Earth, not even 2 feet from any drive-through, it's still, How's that one possible? Anybody? That's it for me, guys. You've been awesome. Enjoy the show. Good night.
That was awesome.
Thank you. I forgot I did all that.
That's one of the best sizzle reels I've ever seen.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it'll get me more work one day.
Well, like maybe by next year.
Exactly. No rush.
Who isn't a rush at this point? I think if you're in a rush, you're screwed.
I know. I a lot of the new platform is what we're doing here. I did a comedy show the other night for my buddy, and I think virtual comedy is kind of the new thing. I just lost my virtual comedy virginity the other night, and it went okay. And
how did you like that?
It's different. It's different. There's no substitute for live stand-up and that immediate response. But I think it may be a Band-Aid as people get better at it and figure it out. I think some acts will be able to adapt to it a little better than others. Yeah. But I've already had a couple of bookings. Like I had a corporate show I think booked this summer out west, and they called and they said, look, we don't know what's going to be, but we'd like to do the show. Can we book it as a virtual show? So they made a deal to book it as a virtual show. So instead of heading out to Colorado, wherever I was going, I'm going to be in my living room with a backdrop and doing my shtick like that. So
nice. You're actually going to do it with the microphone and everything, huh?
Oh yeah, for that one. The one I did the other night was more of a chat situation like this with a bunch of different comedians going back and forth, and a little more digestible on this format. But for a corporate show, it's just me. So it might be a little shorter. I think instead of an hour or 45 minutes, it'll be like a half an hour. So. Yeah. And they did mention if things in a few months are a little safer, where they can have me go to one of their satellite locations in front of a live crowd that's limited, maybe 25, 30 people spaced out, and then closed circuited to the people in Colorado. That'd be great. So I'd have the best of both worlds. I'd have people live to work off of social media, and then the rest people can watch it on.
That makes a huge difference.
It really does. It really does. So again, once stand-up does come back, I don't think, I think we'll go back to it. Nobody's going to want this, but as a substitute, it might be something to keep it for now.
That actually sounds like not a bad idea.
Yeah.
To do a satellite site and then,
that's it.
Are you ever worried? Let me ask you a question. Are you ever worried about doing the virtual stuff and people recording it?
Well, I guess.
And then like losing your material because of it?
That is something I worry about in general, even in live shows. I'm very big on making sure people aren't filming. I don't think people, audience members, truly understand why that is such a bad thing for a couple. Essentially, it's shoplifting, really. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah,
we make a living off our name and likeness and our material and so forth. So it's twofold. One, somebody taking your work that was you're being paid to appear somewhere live. And they're taking that work where they can put it online, and now it devalues your product because it's been seen, and now you can't do it in certain other places, and you're not getting any remuneration for that whatsoever. And not to mention, a lot of times, most of the stuff you see of me online, the things you just showed in the sizzle, are broadcast quality. They're from television,
right?
And when somebody's standing there with an iPhone and filming you in the corner, it looks very unprofessional. So if someone puts that online and then a buyer is going to look for you, and this guy's got
and that's what they get
with a lot of followers, that gets the top hit on Google. And instead of seeing you on television, they see this awful breakfast you did for the sisterhood at the B'nai Israel, and and that's their impression of you now. So
that leads me into my next question: is what is the worst gig you've ever had?
Oh, God, how much time do you have?
Well, you've been doing it for years, so you might have a good.
It's funny. There are a lot, and I used to have a list. I still do have a list somewhere. I'd probably have to. I've probably deliberately blocked some of them out of my head, but there have been some nutty ones. Like what's funny is, it's interesting how people will book comedy in the most inappropriate places to book a comedy show. Like, seriously. I remember once doing a show at Belmont Raceway. Someone got the bright idea, and by the way, it was a great money gig. They did pay us very well.
Okay.
It was like a Saturday or Sunday. You go out, had a bunch of top New York comedians, probably 20 years ago, and you would do comedy, and then literally in the middle of your set, and you didn't know where, you hear.
Oh no.
And suddenly everybody at the same time stops giving a shit about your show and now wants to go watch the horses.
Oh, geez.
And you have to sit there and vamp for the longest 2 minutes of your life while the horses are racing on these big screen TVs and, of course, live, right, 100 yards away. And you had to make it work. And I'm sitting there, narrating the.
So you had enough experience just to know. Okay, well, I'm just going to go and. Plus, you could probably do the guys talking about the horses, right?
That's what I did. I did it all these down the stretch like I'm another side and it's what se sentar aquí solo grunts so don't interested in the I'm doing every language like ni hao chang tai chao ji qiu and I'm doing this sign every language I could think of to gibberish translated in and it worked and but the funniest part was that so you heard me do the call to the races, the first call. There's a guy who really does that. He's got an actual bugle. He's got his little boots and his knickers and his little outfit and the whole thing. And I did it. I said, "Hey, watch me screw up the betting," and I did it into the microphone, so it was really loud.
Oh, jeez.
So the guy who's the real bugler got in trouble. They're like, "What the hell are you doing, man? The race isn't for another 10 minutes." And so he came over to the tent where we were. And we joked about how he was getting in trouble because I did that. So we waited till it was the proper moment. I brought him up on stage with me. He had the actual the bugle, and I sat there with the microphone, and we did it together. We did the first call. But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy. That was just. I mean, that's just one. But that's like a weird thing. I've done gigs where you're standing in front of a television set that's like the size of a wall. It's like size almost, and they got like the Yankee playoff game behind you while you're sitting there doing your set. And then in the middle of your set, people start cheering and laughing. And you go, "Whoa, what did I say?" Oh, and then you're like,
"What did I say? Oh, wait, it was
a home run." Like, who does this? There's so many stories. I mean, I'm forgetting most of the good ones, but I have a bunch written down. We did an event years ago at the Friars Club that I produced called Tales from the Green Room, and we had all these comics of all backgrounds and generations. I mean, we had people like the older comics, like the Freddie Romans. We had Lewis Black, Jeffrey Ross, Lisa Lampanelli, Tom Cotter. I mean, there was probably 40 or 50 comics. It was just for us. And we went around. We had categories of stories, and we had prizes for best stories. And some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard came out of that night. Of just and all of it was real. All these crazy stories that you can't even. I mean, a lot. I've had my share, but then some of the ones that have happened to other people, you're like, "Oh my God, how did you come up with that?" I mean, and then we showed videos of like, where the guy smacks the dude over the head with the guitar. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Where the guy comes up and won't shut up, and the guy takes the guitar and bashes it over his head. I mean, there are things that can go really, really wrong. Actually, I'll tell you an interesting story. This goes to show you how handling something right can be the difference between life or death. One night, many years ago, I'm at the comic strip. I want to say maybe, around 2002 or 3, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the show, and I was told by, I think it was William Stevenson was hosting, may he rest in peace, and I think Big J. Okerson was in the show with a bunch of people. And I was told, hey, there's these gangbangers in the corner making some trouble, so just to give you a heads up about it. Okay. So I hit the stage. I don't even get a word out before these guys are already starting in and heckling and saying stuff. So I can't even get my footing. It's one thing once the crowd is with you and then you got to deal with something. But I couldn't even say hello. So I'm dealing with it, and I threw some good heckle lines at them, hoping that any reasonable person would get it and stop. But no, they kept going, and I was out of stuff to say. So I came up with probably the most ballsy heckle line ever. And I'll say it exactly the way I said it that night. I come up, I'm all friendly, and then finally, when they just wouldn't stop, I'm like, all right, dude, I got very serious, like uncomfortably serious. I was like, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up right now, I swear to God. And as I'm saying that, he starts standing up like, let's go, motherfucker, let's go, And I go, you don't shut the fuck up right now. I swear to God. I go, I'm going to tell. And all of a sudden, the whole place cracks up. This dude goes, "Oh man!" laughs, sits down, and behaves up the whole show. So I turned it around and made the joke on me. He goes, "If you don't show up, I'm going to tell." And I played that, and it worked. And he said, "I had a good set." I finish my set. I go across the street, get some Chinese food with some friends. We're sitting there. All of a sudden, I see cop cars pulling up to the club. I'm like, what the hell happened? I found out that I think it was Big J went on after me or somebody. They started in with the next comic.
Oh, no.
So finally the bouncers went in and said, all right, these guys got to go. And they throw them out, and these guys make a scene and are like, oh, you're disrespecting us, the Bravo girls, what the hell? We're going to come back for you later. We're going to come back for you later, whatever. And the PS to the story is later that night, I think that was the first or second show of the night. There were 3 back then. It was a Saturday night. And someone called up the club and said, hey, what time does your late show end? And they said, about 2 a.m. Okay. Well, the show ended a little bit early. So the club was closing up. two of the bouncers were sitting in a car in front of the club waiting for one of the waitresses to come out. They were taking her home. And as they're sitting in the car, they start seeing these gangbangers from that earlier show walking down the street. And they're knocking on the door of the club. And they're going, so someone goes, hey, you better call the cops, So they call the cops come and get them, and one of them had a gun.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he had a gun. So, like, what was this guy going to, was he going to shoot somebody? Was he just going to shoot? But that's the guy that was heckling me that night that that guy had a gun. Person. And here it was, I found a way to kind of get him to laugh, get the whole crowd, without embarrassing him in a very surgical way that worked. I've needed to use that line since, but it's always there if I ever need to. But it worked in a situation that obviously got pretty serious later in the night. So, just one of the many little things we have to deal with as comedians.
Yeah, I have nothing that even compares to that.
Well, you will, but look, you're not doing.
I will. I don't want to.
There's no substitute for stage time. I'm at a point now in my career where when I'm challenged with something that's really hard, I say, you know what, there's nothing you can throw at me at this point that I haven't dealt with.
Right.
And so even though it may, be daunting, I'm like, I'll get through this, whether it's live TV or whatever it is. I'm like, I've been here before. I've handled it. I'll do it again. So it gives me a little more confidence, not cockiness. I never get cocky, but I was like, look, I've been everywhere you can be, and I'm still here. So yeah,
experience.
I'll figure it out, including doing, virtual shows. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. And experience breeds confidence. So
it does. Yeah.
It really does.
Any comic I'll tell there's no substitute for stage time. You go places where people say, how long have you been doing it? Oh, I've been doing it 5 years. And meanwhile, they go up like once or twice a month. And, you got someone else in the city who's going up, 6 times a week.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the reasons that I wish I lived in the city, but right now I'm glad that I do.
It is harder when you don't live at a place where you can go up as much. But I think you do as much as you possibly can do where you are, and that's great. And you even had a club for a while that you ran yourself, and that's how you do it. You create opportunities, and you've done that. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all. I think it's all about creating opportunities for yourself.
A lot of comics,
can't really wait for other people.
What's that?
You can't really wait for other people.
It's true. You can't. Sometimes you get lucky, but a lot of people create their own vehicles. They write things, and then they move up the ranks, and that's one of the ways to do it. You create your own project that someone likes. But it's a lot. I tell everybody, there's a lot of luck in this business. Look, talent is important. Work ethic is important. Being nice and likable, that people want to work with you, is important.
Right.
But none of them altogether are as important as luck. You can be the biggest, least talented scumbag with a horrible work ethic and have luck and have a better career than somebody who's talented.
Who's been doing it for 25 years.
Have the luck, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. What's your your most favorite gig that you've ever done?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's like asking who's your favorite kid.
I think you have more favorite gigs than you do bad ones, right?
Well, yeah. But it's interesting when you say favorite gig. I mean, there's so many elements that can make something a favorite. I've had the privilege of traveling all around the world doing what I do.
Right.
So people will say to me, what's your favorite country that you've been to? What's your favorite place in the world? Well, there are favorites for different reasons. Like I've been to Antarctica. That's on the top of the list because only so many people have been to Antarctica. That's a cool place.
What did you do in Antarctica?
Exactly. There's nothing to do in Antarctica. So
honestly, no.
The French Riviera. It's like so it's a favorite for a different reason. Same thing with the gigs. I was doing a gig on I was on a cruise, and I'd always wanted to go, and I got to go down there, and it was pretty exciting.
That's
yeah. I've been to all 7 continents, so that's pretty cool.
Have you really? You've had a pretty good career.
You know what? Anyone who can. I always say this. When we talk about success in this business, we often associate it with fame and money and stuff. And that doesn't always happen. But so many people, so many of my contemporaries, if you've managed to pay your bills doing stand-up comedy for, a quarter of a century, that's
really good.
That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
So when I have something that doesn't go my way or I'm bummed about, I try to remind myself like, hey, you know what? I've stayed in the game. I've covered the nut, sometimes easier than others. For 25 years, that I remind myself, or I get reminded by other people sometimes, like, hey, you know what? That is success, and don't go down.
How are you doing with the pandemic stuff?
Pandemic stuff, meaning material wise or just life wise?
Life wise, like, I mean, because you make you really make your money off of comedy. You make your living, you pay your bills, everything.
Yeah, so it's coming to a screeching halt. And I've said all along, and I think other people are starting to realize, I said early on, it's not coming back anytime soon.
We were discussing this earlier, and I'm like, follow 2021.
When I first started saying it, people were like, "Oh, I think it'll be fine with this." I'm like, "Nope."
I don't think it's going to be this summer.
It's not. What's going to happen is, I told some folks. First of all, there's a few elements at play here. They just extended Broadway's closure till Labor Day.
Right.
Now, what does that say right there? This is Broadway, for crying out loud.
And you want to hope that that we come in on Labor Day.
Yeah, and that's only a minimum. They're saying it may even be longer than that, but it's not going to be before Labor Day, and that's early September. So, right there, I mean, that's the mecca of shows and congregate. If they're not up, what does that say for everybody else? The thing of it is you have a few factors at play here. One, right now, my job by definition requires social congregating. So my job effectively is against the law right now.
By definition.
On land, on sea, in the United States, overseas, it is illegal for me to do my job in most places. Yeah. So that's number one. Now, even if they loosen things up, they've said, like in the city clubs, for example, they might open it up for 50% capacity or whatever. And some clubs may opt to do that. Those are not the gigs that pay the bills. For the city comics, we do those clubs to work out, to stay visible, make a few bucks here and there. But those gigs don't pay the rent and the car lease and all the other stuff.
Right.
The gigs, those are the corporate gigs, the country club gigs, the JCC gigs, the cruise ship gigs, and all that stuff.
Right.
So even if the city clubs open up in a limited capacity and we can get up every now and again, it's not really going to fix the nut. The gigs like the condo gigs like I do in Florida, those are older people. They're not going to want to congregate even if they're allowed to.
Right.
And so until look, obviously once testing becomes a little more mainstream, that'll be a phase one. Once there's a medication that can take care of this and reduce the horrible numbers we see every day, that'll be two. But the ultimate is going to be the vaccine. And until there's a vaccine, I don't think we're going to be fully back. And even after there is a vaccine, it's going to take a while for that vaccine to get out.
Given this considerable thought.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. And not to mention, when you book a gig, it's not like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? I mean, we book gigs months in advance.
Yeah.
So, sometimes.
I have gigs booked for November and December right now.
Yeah, I have an amazing gig booked in December. Actually, I have a gig booked in December that is the highest paying single show I've ever done in 25 years for one show. It's
really?
A gig. It's a very big gig, and I'm going, oh God, I hope they don't cancel that on me.
Please don't cancel.
Yeah, because I mean, right there, that's normally to make the money making in that one night, it takes a couple of months, so I need that, but. Yeah, I have gigs later in the year, and then a lot of things are on hold. I mean, I do perform shows on the cruises right now. The cruise industry is come to a halt. So, and then, of course, when it does open up, it'll open up small. You'll have all these acts vying for work. So it's not going to be like as Cuomo says, flipping a switch. It's going to take a while. So my question, and I have to figure out, and a lot of comedians in my situation who pay the bills with stand-up comedy are thinking, how much can this before the well goes dry here? And what am I going to drive a truck for Amazon? I don't know. But, for 25 years, this has been my living. I've never had a quote unquote real job. My resume is going to have like TV credits. It's not going to have, so how am I going to compete against, when we've got 36 million people unemployed right now, highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. So I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of figuring out to do. The clock is ticking. We'll do some of these shows hopefully, but I don't think it'll be enough to make up for it totally. But I am going to have to figure a few things out. We'll have to see. I think everybody's trying to kind of figure it all out. Our business will be the last.
I think people are hopeful, that school's going to be able to open, but I also know that I think, and I'm not sure about this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Do you watch Cuomo a lot every morning?
I do, almost every day. He's like my favorite now. He's
my favorite person. Yes,
he really
is. He is. He is a badass.
House. You have to practice social distancing, right? About density. I mean, he's terrific, and I like listening to him. He's always big on the facts. I really feel I watch him. I feel less stressed than when I watch the news or other things. And I think it's been refreshing to see genuine leadership in an age where it's been like a reality show politically in the world, and now when really we're up against it, where the spit has hit the fan. If I'm going to clean this up, although I said motherfucker, so the shit has hit the fan.
No, you know what? That's why, Stephen. That's why I do a little explicit language because.
Oh yeah, I'm a clean act. That's what's funny. But we're in this forum.
I know you're a clean act. I know you're.
In real life, I talk like a sailor, but on stage, I always try to.
I've actually been cleaner on this than I am on stage, which is
good. But you know what's nice? It opens you up to audience members, young, people that wouldn't otherwise get to see you if you were doing edgier stuff. So what's funny? I remember years ago, my buddy Lisa Lampanelli, who we know for her kind of raucous material. She and I used to do camp shows for kids like 20 years ago at Stand Up New York.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! What were you doing for those camp? I was like, oh my God! How did you? She's like,
how did you develop your act?
I know. How do you? How are these kids not traumatized? But no, she had material that was specifically for that. So it's good to make yourself as universal as possible.
I'm learning that. I mean, I'm still kind of a baby in this,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going into my 8th year.
8th year, cool. No, you've been doing great. You've come a long way. I mean, from when I first met you, and
I've done a lot.
And obviously, as you alluded earlier, if you lived in New York or LA, certainly where you had more access, regular access to, you would even be further. So I think doing where you're coming from, I think you're doing all you can do, and you should be proud of that.
Oh, I'm very proud of what I've been able to accomplish in a very short period of time. I don't know how it's going to work after this. So we'll see.
Well, look, this is a great start. Something as simple as this. And you get a following of people, and you get good guests, and this could be the next thing. Look, when this all ends, you might have your own television show. Okay, you might be.
I had a booker once tell me if I grew my hair out and lost 100 pounds, I'd be perfect.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I was like, but I am perfect. I mean, if I'm rubbing one out in the bathroom and a little drunk, I'll just, Look,
the most important thing is you got to do you. You can't be some. I mean, I know people who've lost the weight, and then it changed their whole persona, and it changed their character, and so it's not always to
I don't think it would change my character.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty solid in who I am.
I know some people who were the big chubby funny guy or girl, and then they
like John Pinette.
And suddenly it just, even though they were the same person, they just didn't. It didn't work the same. So you got to be you, however you are.
What's funny about it is I think I was probably at the time at least 50 pounds lighter than what I am right now.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I'm so fat, and now I look back and I'm like, oh God, I was really fucking skinny back then. I wasn't fat at all. I was husky, but I wasn't.
It's all about perspective.
I wasn't a zero. Like oh my God, yeah, I'll never be a zero. That'll never happen.
All that matters is that you stay healthy. If weight gets to be a point where it's affecting your health, then it's a different issue. But as far as let's do you and be happy, and
I think one of my favorite comedians is John Pinette.
John Pinette, it's funny. John Pinette.
God.
I had the privilege and honor of working with him several times, even early in my career.
Yeah.
And no joke, when you talk about John Pinette, so John Pinette was about 400 pounds. He was big, but he used to, I'm not kidding, because I mean, look, I used to be really, really skinny when I started out. So we do like Bananas Comedy Club. I'd be the MC, he'd be the headliner. And I swear to God, he would grab me. And when I bring him on stage, he'd stand. He goes, "Look, everybody, our impression of the number 10."
That's cute.
And that was always a gag we did. But he one time I remember we were at a show, and for some reason I didn't have anything to eat. I was with a girlfriend at the time. He's like, and I was like, "Oh, we missed dinner. They closed it. You hungry? Come with me. I got you covered." And I'm not kidding. In his contract, he had like, I've never seen. He had enough Chinese food for a Chinese restaurant.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I swear to God. And he's like, "Here you go. You want some fried rice? Here, have some lo mein. He had enough that you could have fed it was all for him. It was a lot of food. But what ended up happening. So John, eventually, his weight. We were talking a moment ago about health. It was really affecting his health, his life. Yeah. When you're that obese, it's not a joke. And so he did have what this is many years ago. It's probably, I want to say 17 years ago, something like that. And he had the surgery, whatever it was at the time, whether it was lap band or I don't know if
the gastric bypass.
One of those. I don't know where they were at 17 years ago, but one of those
gastric bypass.
He'd lost a significant. I think he lost about 100 pounds at least. And because I remember he used to say, "I lost a jockey," he'd be like. But the best line I ever heard was there was a roast in Montreal. They used to they were. I think they were roasting some of the managers. It was like Barry Katz and Dave Becky and Rick Messina, and Jeffrey Ross was one of the roasters. And he gets up and he goes, "Hey, have you guys seen John Panette? Wow, he looks amazing. He must have lost at least 20 minutes."
Yes, that is so true. That is so true.
I know you may have to explain that to some of the civilians, but
well, I mean that's come across my mind, but I could probably lose 50 to 75 pounds, be back where I was when I first started.
Yeah,
not miss the jokes, because in show business, if you're not a twig, you're fat. Yeah. I mean, you're either, and it's such a double standard for women.
It's funny. I'll tell you a story. I don't want to say
double standard.
I don't want to say who it was, just out of respect, but there was a good friend of mine, a very well-known comedian, woman. We did New Faces in Montreal together about 20 years ago, and she, I guess, at one point in her life had been heavy. By this point in her life, she was looking pretty svelte.
Right.
So I guess maybe she had lost the weight, but not the complex yet. And a lot of her material had to do with being heavier. But it was weird because the person you were looking at on stage was not that person. And so I think it was Dom Irrera was hosting the New Face, and he pulled her aside. He's, "Listen, I got to tell you, I don't know if you realize this. You're not fat. So some of the jokes, people are confused because you're doing these fat jokes, but you're not fat." And I think eventually she realized, that she really had lost a lot of weight, but it took a while to catch up mentally and emotionally. And eventually the material changed.
It started to change. Yeah. Someone just asked if there's any chance we will hear a live version of "We Will Survive."
Oh, that's my friend Doug being a troublemaker. Look at you. Well, we can do the live, or I don't know if you have the clip either, which either one we could do.
I don't have the clip of you. Do it.
You want me to do it? Oh God, I have to see if I can remember the.
Where would the clip be?
I'm gonna screw up. I was on the.
Where would the clip be?
It would be on my YouTube page. It was. I think it may have been in the package that I sent you earlier with the other thing. It may be in that.
I can find it. Yeah.
If it is, we'll just go with that. If not, I'll stretch through it. I think that's the
troublemaker.
That's my buddy Doug. I'm glad you're watching, pal. Shout out to Doug in the window.
Hi, Doug. I'm going through all this effort. You got to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Doug knows me since I'm 15 years old.
Does he know Stephanie?
He would know. He would not know Stephanie because he didn't grow up in our town.
Oh, okay.
So is it there? Is it
I Will Survive?
Okay, so We Will Survive. We Will Survive.
We Will Survive.
Basically I wrote a song to keep my spirits up through this nonsense, and I picked up the ukulele.
Oh, is that the parody that you did?
The parody, yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, I got it.
You want to show it, then you can just see it. I'll play it out. But I was writing inspirational songs. I picked up the ukulele. I was trying to just keep my spirits up, and then I started rewriting the words and making them kind of funny. So I wrote one, and I put it on YouTube a couple weeks ago, and it got a really wild response. I figured from this whole coronavirus, it'd be nice to have something go viral, and so I put it out there. But yeah, if you want to show it, you can. I'm yapping at the beginning for about 40 seconds, but then you'll hear the song.
Okay, let me just go forward here.
Right there, yeah, there you go. That's it. That should do it.
Volume up.
Yeah. And let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
You're so
So many people are afraid, some are petrified. This coronavirus has us scared to even go outside. We've spent so many days cooped up inside our homes, we could just cry. But we know we don't want to die, so we stay in. We don't congregate. We do our part to social distance, stay at home and isolate. We've been watching so much Netflix, there's no more for us to see. And Governor Cuomo's daily briefings are our only therapy, because we can't go shop or out to eat. Heck, we feel like a criminal if we're just standing on the street. So for everybody's interest, we try to do our best. Though every day we're stuck inside, it feels like we're on house arrest. Yet I know we will survive, cause when we come together is when we always thrive. We've got so much help to give, doing all we can to live. We will survive, we will survive. Hey, hey, oh, 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 oh. It takes all the strength we have just to do our part, to stay safe and help the economy not fall apart. We salute those brave health workers going in each day to do the jobs and save some lives, even in harm's way where they're symptom free. With no flu or cough, we must all wash our hands so much they're almost falling off. And there is still no toilet paper left in stores to sell, and now it's easier to score cocaine than a bottle of Purell. Yet we'll persevere. No, we will not quit. Though I need a haircut now because I look like Cousin It. I wish we could go out and all behave like we were free, but we'll get there soon. Just believe and you will see, because I know we will survive, cause when we come together is when we always thrive. And I know one thing is for certain, that this will surely pass if we can all just fight together to kick some coronavirus ass. And again, we'll shop and go out to eat. We'll see a show and watch a ball game once we get back on our feet. Just like hurricanes, world wars, tsunamis, and earthquakes. Of course, there's 9/11 and the Great Recession of 08, and we survived. Oh, yes, we survived, because we all came together, and that's when we always thrive. We've got so much help to give, doing all we can to live. We will survive. We will survive. We will survive.
There you go. Eat your heart out, Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah, no kidding. I think you just put her to shame. That's so funny.
That was for Doug. That was a shout out to Doug right there.
There you go, Doug.
Anyone else who needed a little boost of inspirational, funny music?
Yeah, I have a song that I do in my set.
Oh yeah, about this? Or?
I Will Survive. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean before this though? Before the corona?
Oh yeah. No, I wrote a song. I did a parody on Hallelujah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I just never put it together.
And do you sing it a cappella, or do you play an instrument with it, or? No,
I just probably use backtracks for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I didn't. So, I know your mom got sick, right?
She did, yes. And thanks for bringing it up. She's doing great, I'm happy to say.
I'm very happy for you.
I was thrilled to have her around for another Mother's Day last week. Yeah, she got COVID. And she was in the hospital for a little bit, but she pulled and has made a full recovery, and I'm so incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because I've been teasing her a lot, because I think I think she's got some lingering. I think temporary brain damage might be one of the symptoms that people don't often hear about, because
really,
she's been through this whole thing. She doesn't understand sometimes what's going on.
Does she know? Does she get incubated?
She did. What did she have? No, she wasn't on a ventilator. She didn't need to be on a ventilator, but she had the fever and the cough and a few things. I mean, look, it could have been real worse. She's 75 years old, so she did. She came through pretty well. They got to her early enough, and she made a turnaround, and then she was in a rehab for a little bit just to kind of get everything back to normal and get go back to. She lives in a over 55 community where sadly some of her neighbors have not been so fortunate. So now she's back home and she's doing great. And I'll call her after this. She would have been watching the show, but she can't figure it out. So
you can send her the link afterwards.
I don't know. But anyway, she forgets what's going on. So I was talking to her last week, and she's like, so are you guys, so what are we doing Mother's Day? Are you guys going to come over for brunch? I'm like, no, Mom, we're not coming over for brunch. She's like, oh, well, do you want to do dinner instead? Is that easier? I'm like, no, Mom, we're not coming over at all. What do you mean? Why aren't you coming? Mom, what do you mean? Wow, because we stopped loving you. What do you mean? Put on the news. Watch the news. Call me back.
That's probably how it feels for her.
But it's so funny.
Wow.
She says, she's like, forgets. She's like, oh, this is, finally, I'm talking to her one day, and I think she gets, this is really serious. This is so serious. It's so bad.
This is after she had it?
After she had it. And she's like, she's like, yeah, I spoke to your cousin the other day. Do you know that he is supposed to go to Thailand? They canceled his trip to Thailand. I'm like, oh, no. I was like, you know what else they canceled? My income. All of my income. Me and 30 other million people have no jobs right now.
Oh, my God.
It's hilarious. She's like, and I spoke to your sister. The kids, they may not be able to go to camp. Can you imagine? Well, considering they haven't been in school for 2 months, yes, I can imagine.
Holy shit. And she just doesn't know.
And then, no, but then it comes and goes. She'll be like, oh, right, she gets, it's so funny.
But she wasn't on a ventilator, right?
No, she was not on a ventilator. Thank God.
She was in a hospital? She
was in a hospital, yeah. She had a very high fever.
How long was she in the hospital for?
She was in the hospital for about 6-7 days, and then she was in a rehab facility for a little over a week after that.
Wow.
Where they were doing physical therapy and just heart rate and stuff. She has some cardiac issues, so they were just making sure before they sent her back home.
Really lucky.
She really did. She really did, and she sounds great. I mean, I teased her. We were having a conversation. Like, she just forgets every now and again. I'm like, no, Mom, we're not. When she was in the hospital, she's like, well, how come you're not going to come visit? Well, Mom, we're not allowed to come visit. You can come, but no, because of the COVID. Oh, well, tell him I said it was okay. Okay, I'll call Governor Murphy and I'll tell him you said like his big fat executive order and that you said it was okay to come to the hospital. So I remind her every now and again. But she's
I'm so glad that she's okay, though.
What's that?
I'm so glad she's okay.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for asking. I'm really grateful. Every day we see these numbers, and there's so many families that, we had Mother's Day the other day, and all I could think about was all those families who unfortunately couldn't celebrate Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. And I was so grateful that, fortunately, I was able to be one of them. So shout out to Mom.
Hi, Mom.
We'll send her a link and we'll figure out so she can watch it. But I'm proud of her. She pulled through and she's doing great. So I'm grateful.
I love this because where did you have a I love this because I think I'm going to show your America's Got Talent audition.
Oh, sure.
Because it shows your mom, and I think your mom would appreciate that.
Oh, cool. Oh, from the second episode. Right. Yeah, you can show that.
Yeah, I think if I have the right one, I think I do.
It's if you have the one that was in the, well, they showed the sizzle reel earlier, so I think it was in the. I think
it's this one here. I just have to find it. Give me 1 second.
Sure. We'll play the Jeopardy music. Da, na, na, na.
Yeah, I know.
This is your life, Stephen Scott.
Let me make sure I share that.
I got my childhood friend, and I got all these. This is actually. Oh, this is just from the. This is one of the random YouTube ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this set though. I don't know why it's not gonna work, but.
Hi. Hello, Mel. So good to see you guys again. Thanks for having me back.
Tell everybody a little bit about you and your name.
I'm Stephen Scott. I am a comedian from New York City. Oh, look at that. A little love for New York in the house. Good.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. And my mom's adorable. She still hasn't figured out how voicemail works yet. Every message of hers starts out like this. Hi, sweetie. It's Mom. Pick up the phone. Are you there? I have a story for you. And unlike most people who have you call them back and then tell you the story, she leaves the entire story right on the voicemail. It makes me miss the good old days when we used to have answering machines and I could listen to her messages like this. Hi, sweetie. It's your mother. Remember me? I have a story for you and I... 30% off. I couldn't believe it. And the woman was... Because Aunt Sylvia's stool sample came back from the lab. I don't know, the doc... That's why we got to bring back the answer machine. Driving me nuts.
So cute.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there was there's a full version of the clip where it shows the previous episode I'd done, and that one was like 2,000 people at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium, and it was all the judges, and then Simon Cowell stands up.
Nice.
And everybody, 2,000 people, and all 4 judges stand up to give me a standing ovation. And that was like, whoa, that was.
I would call that one of the best gigs, right?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. You say best. I mean, it's a hard gig. That's not an easy gig by any stretch of
90 seconds?
Yeah, you got to do 90 seconds, and you don't know what they're going to ask you. And it's funny because when I went out, anywhere I do a show, people know I'm a comedian, right? They come out, either they've come to see me, or I'm on the billing, or they're at a comedy show. They know I'm a comic. Here I walk out, they don't know I'm a comic. I didn't realize that right away.
Oh, right.
I go out and I made a joke about something, and for some reason Mel B just wasn't in that mode to get it. Everybody else got it. I forgot what she said something. I had a couple of cute lines, and she was just like, "Huh? I don't, And then even someone's like,
hysterical.
She's like, "How old are you?" And I didn't want to say my age. I think I was 44, and I said, I'm 32 years old with 12 years experience. So she, I said, she's, "How old are you?" I said, "Yeah, well, if you make me tell the truth, I'm going to have to change my profile on Tinder." And then she said, "No, really, how old are you?" I said, "I'm 32 with 12 years experience." She goes, "Wait, 12 years experience at what?" And like someone was like, at being 32. Like, yeah, it took her a minute.
At being 32.
Yeah, right, exactly. 12 years experience being 32. So, but I
remember when you went out for that. That was pretty cool. I mean, from my perspective, that was pretty cool.
It was cool that it went well, to get that standing ovation, to have it on. You didn't see it in this clip, but to have it air and to where people see that they get the standing ovation. That was kind of a nice thing. And once in a while, you'll get people say to you, "Oh, you should have gone further." But I said, I don't think a lot of people who aren't in the business understand. It's not really the straight up talent show you think it is. It's a television show on a network. It's orchestrated, and it's a genius production. The way they're really the team they have that does this, it's unbelievable. But they kind of they build a storyline, and it's a lot about the backstory that you have. And the comedian, Harrison Greenbaum was also in that season with me. He went on that first night too. We both did well, but the comedian that went through used to be homeless. Okay, well, that wins. I don't have that kind of service. So, but there's a lot of these people. It's like you see one's a burn victim, one lost their leg in the war, the other one's got a father with cancer. And it should be called America's Got Struggles. So that really
America's Got Struggles. Yes, we do.
It's true, but so it's not always about that. But so you go in there, and the way I looked at it was that, okay, look, I'm an actor on a NBC drama series disguised as a talent show, and I just have to hope that the writers keep writing my character back each week. And so the fact that I went to the whatever that round, what do they call those? The judge cut rounds. I got 2 episodes on TV. 15 million people at least who've never seen me before got to see me. They made they didn't embarrass me or do anything to make me look bad, which they certainly can do.
It's really nice.
Yeah, they were really nice, and it was and so it was cool. And when we filmed that second, the one you just saw was filmed at Universal Backlot, or Universal's the Universal Studios lot, and I was on the back lot, and right behind where we were filming is the set for Back to the Future. I was in Hilton.
Oh, no way.
But just walking around there, and we filmed on the back lot. If you saw the whole package, they show me, and
I know I saw it. Yeah,
and so and you see the tram, the Universal tram drive, and people are waving at me like I'm a celebrity. So that experience was really neat, just being a part of that. But it is nerve wracking. Just you want to make it's live. You don't want to mess it up. I've done live to air TV many times. So, but you don't have room for error there. You make one little slip up because the bit I was doing is a lot longer, and I had to thin it out. That bit, they wanted me to do that, and I decided not to do it in the first episode. I went for a different bit that I thought would work better, and it got me a standing ovation. But when I did the second, they said, "Would you please do the bit about your mom?" So I said, "Okay," but it was it's in the middle of my act. There's other setups. It was just, it's hard to kind of, and they edited it down. I mean, it's funny because when I watch it now, I'm thinking, wait, they took out little lines along the way that are funny.
Did they really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. They can edit whatever they want. But I mean, it didn't look bad, but it was, some of the jokes that were in there. I mean, it shined more the fun of the sound effect and all, but some of the actual funny lines were kind of truncated out to make it quicker. But yeah, it was already spread really thin, but I made it work to get it done. And
that would be so hard to do.
Yeah, I'm glad I got through it, and they made me look good. I didn't, so I mean,
you look great on it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, we have.
And now you have NBC America's Got Talent as a credit.
Yeah, I do. I sometimes say when people introduce me, they'll say even Simon Cowell gave him a standing ovation. I'm very proud of that. I wear that as a badge of honor because look, we have friends, good friends, excellent comedians who got an X from Simon Cowell, which is insane. So he can really be very temperamental with his.
Are you on Last Comic Standing too?
I did Last Comic Standing second season. That was I think I didn't go into that there. It was like you had to get into the house, so I went to I made it through the first round, and I made it to the I was in LA at the time, so I was in that LA batch, and it was all a comedians. And I remember the producers came up to me and said, "So guys, here's the deal. You all kicked ass. You were all great." But they go by type. You four are this type. You guys are this type. It's going to be one of you guys and one of you guys. And we knew it wasn't really reflective of whether we didn't do well. It's it's a casting call, and that was the season that Dan Natterman. There was an infamous thing that happened. It was pretty wild at the time. Dan Natterman, our good buddy, who's a brilliant comedian, had the set of his life that night, and I remember because. Our buddy Tom Cotter was there live, and he called me in LA to tell me what was going on. But basically, he did great, and all the judges were Drew Carey, Anthony, what's his name? Who is it? Oh my God,
no idea.
Brett Butler and Anthony Clark. So that was Brett Butler.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Drew Carey, Tony Clark. So they were the judges, and they all picked Dan as their number one choice.
Okay.
But then, interestingly enough, when they selected the comedians, the 10 comedians that were going to be going into the house, Dan wasn't one of them. And 3 of the comedians that weren't even on the judges' list were on the stage. So Drew Carey, to his credit, says, "Excuse me, I call bullshit."
Who said that?
He said, and he actually came at this is ridiculous. And Brett Butler was crying, and Tony Clark was all, everyone was like, "This is nuts." And Dan was upset. Everybody was upset.
So the producers
were also, one of the producers was a manager, and he managed a couple of the clients.
Yeah, that's the part of
the business. People don't realize that's how the business works. They shows and they think it's all real. They have no idea. So, so what happened was I saw Drew Carey a few nights later at the Improv in LA, and I was talking to Drew. I said, "Thank you for standing up. Dan's a friend of mine. He's a great comic." And he goes, "Hey, Steve, look, he had the set of the night." He goes, "Look, I know what it's like to struggle." He goes, "I slept in my car for a year." He goes, and he had the set of the night. And look, he said, if they wanted to go around and say, "Hey, we made it a casting call. We went around the country. We saw all these great comics. We thought these were the 10 that would be fun to watch in a house together. Fine. But if you're making it a contest where you've got me as a judge and I select the other judge and that person's not there for someone else," he goes, that's fraud, And he said, and I respected that. And anyway, when the show aired 6 months later, they kind of glazed over it. It was mentioned, and it was weird, but yeah, it just kind of shows those shows. I'm not a big fan, to be honest with you, and they're popular, and I don't like the judge shows. I really don't because I don't because it's you're talking about art. Let's the judge. Who's the better painter, Monet or Picasso? I mean, they're two entirely different. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's not like who crosses the finish line first. Everybody's great. They all have their own thing, and I hate when they try to make it a contest. I like the thing about the Huckabee show you were talking about. It was great to go out there. No one needed to see my set. They treated me like a professional. I did my set. I got people responded. That was it. I said, nobody had to say, "Okay, now, what do you think? How do you think he did?" And all this nonsense. Just let me go out and be funny. Let me do it.
It's a weird amount of pressure when you do competition.
It's very weird. And then you got people who don't know anything about comedy who are commenting on comedy. In fact, speaking of Dan Natterman, to his credit, a few months ago they aired. They did the Champions version of America's Got Talent, and Simon, he was one of the ones that Simon gave it. He was killing. He was doing great, And then Simon just gave him an X, and it was really bizarre because this is.
I remember seeing that, and it was just like,
what? And
everybody, I think Howie Mandel was like, "Why would you do that?"
He's on the show because he's one of the best. Okay, he's not. It's
Right.
not like you're auditioning riffraff here. This is one of your best guys, and it's not like he had a bad set and was eating it or anything. No, he was doing great. And Simon gives him, the X. And so Dan, to his credit. And I'll probably fudge the line because I've only seen it once, but it was so funny. He says, "Listen, Simon, I got to tell you something." He goes, when it comes to music, you're the gold standard. You're the gold standard. He goes, "Really, but when it comes to comedy, you don't need your ass from your elbow." And everybody applauded. It was one of those great moments for Dan, who'd been down that road before.
That's hysterical.
And it was a great moment. But yeah, these people don't know. I mean, I think enough. Let's just have comedy shows where people can be funny and you can judge whether you like them or not. We don't have to have a point system.
Well, I mean, typically you judge based off of laughs.
Right.
Like, it would be nice if they had a big giant laugh-o-meter.
Well, but here's the thing about that too. It's not just laughs. Laughs, of course, are key. But you can get laughs. You can go on stage and go duty, and people will laugh. I mean, it's not necessarily true. So you can do goofy stuff and not necessarily be a great writer or a great comedian. So it's got to be that combination of laughs, but also some good writing and clever presentation of what you're doing, and that kind of balance of all of it. But look, everybody has different tastes. Some people like the people who are the more clowny type, and some people like the more cerebral type, like a Stephen Wright versus a Jerry Lewis or a Lewis Black. Everybody's got their own thing, and to try and put everybody in the same box is just, I don't know. I don't like that for comedy. I like the diversity. I love
having a diverse show.
Yeah, you can't just go, this one's better than that. And especially when you're not even judging on the act, but you're judging on, like I said, oh, this guy, was a veteran, and then this guy was on fire once, and
the producers override you.
Yeah, it's just let people do it. Let us do what we do, and let people judge themselves. I like that. Hopefully, I mean, look, God bless them. These guys are geniuses. The genre's been around for at least 20 years now, but I'd like to see it kind of move towards something a little different. I really enjoyed when I did the last TV spot I did. That it was just great, not having to sit and wait for judges. That I could do a show and just that was it.
Right.
Wonderful the way it used to be, and it was nice.
The world has changed, my friend.
And it's still changing. It's
changing rapidly right now.
I know. We don't know where it's going, but it's going somewhere.
I keep saying I'm not the most adaptive person.
Right.
Like I like things being, okay, I know what's going to happen next. And if I don't know, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to make this happen next.
A wise woman once told me, she's my commercial agent. I'll give her a shout out. I don't think this is her quote per se, but she once quoted it to me and I never forgot it. She said, it's not, we always say it's survival of the fittest. She goes, it's not survival of the fittest. It's survival of the most adaptable.
Adaptable. Yes.
And boy, is that true. And that goes for your career. That goes for life. It's really true. And this is we're living that right now. And those people, some are going to adapt better than others.
Let me rephrase that. I mean, in the sense of emotionally, it's very difficult for me to adapt. I adapt. Clearly, I'm here.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm like, okay, I need to stay in touch with my friends who are comics. Sure. Fuck everyone else, but
Well, you're right, but
it's very true.
Is more than just professional. It is also emotional. It's like it's got a lot of different layers.
It's very emotional. And it's one of those things where it's like such a huge chunk of who I am now is being a comedian and making people laugh.
Sure.
And the one thing that's kept me going through all of this was doing these things and talking to friends that are comedians. Because and the other thing is like. And I've said this before, people don't usually get the behind the scenes or what makes the comedian tick kind of thing,
Oh, you're absolutely
so I think this is kind of fun.
I agree.
I mean, it gets kind of deep at times, and we're talking politics and COVID-19, and sometimes it can kind of feel like it's repetitive, and it's like, oh, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Be funny,
but sometimes
it's really affecting our lives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But you're right. People, this is another side. I mean, I can go on and do my shtick and be funny, but then sometimes people get a deeper perspective, and especially if you're a comedy fan. You know, you only see that front thing on the stage, and then you go, "Oh wow, yeah." And so sometimes people really appreciate sometimes seeing comics actually talk deep and philosophically. Because look, comics are some of the smartest people I know.
I would agree with you.
There's some that can act pretty dumb, but you got to be smart and aware of what's going on to do stand-up comedy and be successful at it. So when you hear some of the best times that I have as a comedian are when I'm sitting with other comedians after a show, just sitting around. When you talk about stories, those are my favorite times. When I'm if you ask any comic, and one thing they wouldn't trade is that just sitting around with a bunch of other comics, having those that go all night long, and sometimes you're laughing so hard you can't breathe, and sometimes you're talking about nonsense, but just bantering with other comics, that is the best thing. And and so this is just you and me here, but when people will do it with all
banter. It's a banter.
It's a banter, but it's good, and I don't have pressure. It's fun. It's like when you do radio, you don't. You have stuff to talk about and ready to go if you need it, but you can kind of, be improvisational and go with the flow. It's not like, oh, we have to take a word from our sponsor. No, we can just, we can banter.
Yeah, it's very conversational.
And it's not like there's much competition right now. There's not much else people are going to be. I can't see this. I have other things to do. No, but I talked to a lot of people who are at home, and someone I was talking to the other night was saying, we're starved for something to watch and do. And so look, if you and I just bantering the silly stuff about the funny business kind of takes people away from the things that are on their mind when they turn on the news every day or go out their front door, then we've done that service. And
I think the first 4 weeks or the first maybe 20 of these that I've done were all about COVID-19.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, it is what is on my mind.
That's it. We just talk about what's real.
There's so many things that are on my mind, but how can people find you?
They can find me at RawwayStatePrison.com. No, Stephen Scott. That's Stephen with a V, because that's how you spell Stephen, not with a PH. I took spelling in school. That's Stephen, and I'm not a Stephen. So it's Stephen, and it's Scott. And it's .tv, not like television, not .com, because some plumber from Paramus took that. So until he dies, I have the .tv. But I worked it all in therapy, so it's going to be okay.
Oh, good.
Scott.tv is the website. And on social media, it's super easy. I think you have it up there. It's Stephen Scott, LOL. That's on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So Stephen Scott, LOL on social media, and StephenScott.tv website.
Very cool. I hope that you get a couple follows with that. And I'm really grateful that you came on. Can you do me a favor when we go into because we're going to stop now. Can you just hang out in the green room so we can talk some more?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you very much. Give us some love. And we'll talk to you soon.